Hello folks, welcome back to the channel. Once again, I'm stepping in to talk about adventure touring clothing. We have a jacket and trousers to talk about today from the Swedish brand Halvarssons. This is called the Vinvallen, and the jacket is available in either a black or a brown and black, as we have in the studio, for around £460. The trousers only available in black as of the making of this video for around £400. Both of them have a CE AA certification and a pretty decent amount of versatility as well. Halvarssons is relatively new to me as a brand, but it was kind of given a quick summary as a kind of Scandinavian styled or influenced. To me, that means kind of minimalist, quite neutral styling, if you like. And that is to say that it's quite versatile styling as well, because it doesn't really take a hard line or do too many kind of eye-catching features. And I mean that in a good way. And also that it is somewhat similar to Rucker. The big difference actually is that they don't use Gore-Tex. So they have different waterproof membranes used throughout, which I will explain as we go through this. Still really high end, still really good. But that's kind of one of the big differences, I suppose, about it. The reason they're kind of similar is because of the practical features, really. So it is pretty high end, and it is adventure touring. If we're kind of describing a season for this, definitely I would say more tailored towards colder weather riding. It is versatile because it has vents across it, but it's not going to be the most breathable, and it also doesn't have a removable waterproof membrane or liner. That means that on active rides, if you're riding off-road, as I'm sure Andy will have explained to you, you start to build up a sweat quite quickly as you're moving around on the bike. So if you have a waterproof membrane kind of fixed to the jacket, then ultimately it's just not going to be as breathable. Obviously, they try and make them as breathable as they possibly can, but there are certain limitations where that's concerned. So obviously, if you want a waterproof jacket, then it's still a great choice to look for. And like I say, still does have some breathability, so an element of versatility in there. But realistically, you'd probably want to be doing more road riding in this. If you're churning out miles, this is the perfect kind of item for you. I think the other brand that this jacket in particular puts me in mind of are some jackets from the company Revit. And I haven't got quite as extensive a knowledge when it comes to adventure riding clothing. I certainly know the kind of broad spectrum of it, but I have come into contact for longer periods of time with specific brands. Revit is one of those that I just know quite well. And I think in terms of the chest panels on this one and the fact that it's got these kind of magnetized flaps that you can get out of the way for some breathability, it does put me in mind of some of the stuff that I've seen from Revit. Let's start with the jacket then, obviously, before I sort of describe a few more details on the trousers, although the details pretty much are the same between the jacket and trousers. Obviously, they're made as a set if you want to couple the two together. So this, to start with, as far as your waterproofing goes, has a DWR treatment to this textile outer. So that is going to stop water from beading up on the outside. This is probably stuff you've heard before as well, but essentially, if the outer fabric can't wet out, then firstly, it will be a little bit lighter because the water won't oversaturate it. And ultimately, the waterproofing has an easier time as well. So it all just works towards the same goal of keeping you dry. So the DWR treatment on this will help bead up that water and just not let it sit on the outer fabric too long. It also has some additional reinforcements in key impact areas, something you'll commonly see with jackets, which help them feel a little bit lighter, because you don't necessarily have to reinforce the entire outfit. There are areas where you definitely do need it to be tougher, like your elbows, for example. So they've reinforced that with high ART fabric. I think it will be pronounced. I've only ever seen it written down, but basically that essentially, so they say, is about 5 times stronger than other traditional textiles. Looking around the rest of the jacket, you have a removable neckline, which is actually zipped on there. So if I just unfasten this, you will also see it's backed by it's sort of like a micro cloth or towel-like sort of fabric. So obviously these are areas where you would be a little bit more active. Maybe you would perspire a little bit more. So you want this to be moisture wicking. Really comfortable, actually. So that is around your neckline. And like I say, this is removable. It's got a magnet on there to just kind of locate it in place a little bit easier. And you've got this softer section around your Adam's apple to make it more comfortable as you're moving around. So little considerations that just make it a bit more comfortable. You've got straps on your arms to adjust it if you need Velcro around your wrist. For example, a slight drop to the back, but not the longest of jackets. Again, if you're going to be moving around a decent amount, then maybe this is kind of the perfect height. And it's actually got a zip on the inside to fasten it to your trousers as well. If you do couple it with their trousers, you have detachable braces also, so you can get those underneath this and kind of block out that colder element or any kind of like nasty weather. So you can actually meet these together really well. And they're not going to separate, obviously, if you use that zip as well. Storage pretty minimal on the outside. So you have 2 pockets around your waist there with a flap over the top, but you can open those out. Modest kind of size, and some more storage actually on the inside if you want to use that. The other zips at your chest there are to do with the climate control. So you can unzip those either from the bottom or the top actually. So you can allow through a little bit of airflow if you want, or you can undo the bottom there. And again, we've got magnets to keep it in place, but you can fasten that on the inside, not on the outside. So you tuck it into itself like so, and then you can open that out. And obviously exposes this mesh breathability, this mesh panel in there. Same is true of your wrists. You can open those from the top or the bottom. There is also an exit vent around the reverse, so you can't open or close that. It's always open. But obviously the way the fabric is going means that the water is going to roll off that rather than obviously whip underneath. So you'll still be waterproof, but allows a little bit more breathability. Now, what I will say about the breathability is that on the inside, you have various other means of keeping you warm. Just while I've got this open, you'll see there's another pocket there actually on this side here. But if I open it up, you can see that it definitely is designed more towards or catering more towards the colder weather and the colder riding. Because although you have these mesh breathable panels, it also has a dedicated membrane on the inside, as I've already mentioned. And it uses Outlast as well, which is quite well respected as far as an insulating material on the inside. I believe that was actually developed for astronauts, which sounds probably more fancy than it is, but any which way, it's a really good way of moderating your temperature on the inside. The liner is removable, so this is an additional gilet on the inside, which will add some more warmth to it. This you can remove, so if you do want it to be a little bit more lightweight, then obviously you can take this off with the zip here. And you'll see the Outlast logo also on the outside, on that side, and some more storage here as well. You can see this zip that you can fasten it to your trousers also. It uses a Dryway 2020 waterproof membrane. It is a drop liner, not a laminated waterproof membrane. And the 2020 refers to its ratings actually. So 20,000 millimeters for waterproofing, which is actually relatively high. Certainly in terms of the more urban market that I'm more familiar with, that would be a high rating. In adventure kind of circles, I guess it's kind of similar to what you might expect, but still on the higher end. And 20 grams per square meter in a 24-hour period for breathability. Again, that is actually relatively high for breathability as far as a rating goes on paper. In practice, when it comes to breathability, take it with a pinch of salt. Obviously, that is a pretty decent rating, I'm sure, against the rest of the market, pretty good. But if you are going to be active in something like this, then you are going to get a little bit on the sweaty side. You kind of expect that with a membrane like that. The other thing you'll notice actually on the inside, though, are these pockets, which I suppose you could just use as pockets, but actually it will say chest protector ready, so you can fit this with chest armor if you want to, which is always nice. Again, kind of in an urban scene, not that common, but with adventure gear, then you do want that in there. Any extra armor you can get is even better. And obviously it's got armor included in your elbows and your shoulders. It has a pocket for a back protector if you want to get one. You'll also notice that it says airbag ready around your shoulders there at the top of your back, referring to the fact that it has stretchier panels around here and the room to accommodate an airbag if you want to go that route on the inside. Obviously, if you're going to use an airbag, and I guess it's a pretty decent thing to look towards in terms of your safety, then if you can go that way and you can fit it on the inside, you want to know it's got the room in there so it doesn't just sort of squeeze you like a sausage on the inside. So the fact that it will expand and allow for that airbag is definitely a good thing. And again, you don't often see that with certain jackets. With the trousers, they are similarly on the thicker side, and I think tailored towards that colder weather. So it has got a removable liner, again on the inside, so you can take that out if you want to and make them a little bit lighter, but they're still going to be a little bit thicker than I would personally prefer to use on kind of summer days, really hot days. Still a decent amount of breathability. Vents again that you can open at your thighs. They use the same sorts of materials, same sorts of waterproofing as well. Level 2 armor in your knees and your hips, and they've got removable braces so you can secure them, and a zip at the back if you want to attach them to your jacket. As you can see then, it is on the more technical side. You've got a really good amount of features on this, and it can be quite a versatile option, very comfortable. And actually when it comes to the fit accurate sizing as well, you can always check our size guide on the website if you need to, but for both the jacket or the trousers, they are what I'd describe as accurate. If you want to go a little bit further, maybe spend a little bit more and get a laminated membrane. They actually have another jacket as well, which you'll see on the website and you'll see a review of as well at some point. I think called the Dalen or Dalen. Probably pronouncing that wrong, but I'll give it my best go. But it's very similar. Again, it is a waterproof item. The big difference there is that it uses a laminated waterproof membrane, so a little bit higher end. Now, if you want to check out this or the rest of their range, links can be found in the description. Let us know your thoughts on it in the comment section, and we'll see you soon. Bye.